Yes, it is on right now, and recording also started.
Good morning, our viewers. Welcome to Council for Strategic Affairs. We are having the 12th episode of Strategically Speaking with Dr. Adityanjee. It is Tuesday, October 31st, 6 a.m. in United States and 3:30 p.m. in India. We have a very important topic to discuss today. Our guest today is Dr. Manoj Kumar Panigrahi. He is a young academic who works as assistant professor at Global Jindal University in School of International Studies in Sonipat, Haryana in India. And he has recently published a 75-page long monograph on China-Taiwan Conundrum, India's strategic policy options. So welcome to our platform, Dr. Panigrahi. Thank you
Namaste.
for being on our platform.
Very well. Thank you for having me and for the kind introduction. And looking forward to having a very interactive discussion on this timely topic. Thank you.
So for our viewers, the topic we are going to discuss today is the nationhood of Taiwan. And to discuss, there's no other person better qualified than Dr. Panigrahi, who has studied this topic in detail. So let me start the conversation with Dr. Panigrahi. For sake of our viewers, in your opinion, is Taiwan a de facto country or its province or state of another nation?
Okay. Yes, I think this is a wonderful question to start this discussion. Like if we go into the general notion of what is a state, all right, state is something which has a definite boundary. It has a definite, it has its own currency, own political and economic system, and and all these boxes are being clicked by the Taiwan, present Taiwan. So if we go by this definition, yes, it is a country, and the legitimacy part comes next. Is that where comes the tricky part? Right now, around the world, only 13 countries officially recognize or have diplomatic relationship with Taiwan slash ROC, Republic of China. So legitimacy part is something that's where it comes a lot of trouble when it comes to politics and involvement of China and other countries in the region. Yeah.
So historically, when are the times when Taiwan was a independent country, and when were the periods when it was under Chinese occupation? Can you
Yeah.
enlighten our
So
viewers on that?
yeah, so historically, if we say Taiwan was considered as a savage land, it was considered as a savage land by many people. It was more like a why it is savage land because of the presence of lot of Aboriginal population who used to like not so welcoming to the outsiders, different even within themselves. So Taiwan was formerly known as Formosa. So if you look at the old maps that are being produced, it is all called Formosa. Fast forward first is in 1624, Dutch occupied Taiwan, starting from the south, and then for the first time in 1661, the Dutch were defeated by the Koxinga, or the Chang Chang Kong, from who was the Ming Dynasty loyalist, who himself was a pirate. He defeated Dutch and controlled Taiwan. But this was the first time ever there was a significant like in presence control from a mainland Chinese over Taiwan or the Formosa you can say. Followed by which it was then Chang Chang Kung surrendered, his grandson surrendered the Taiwan occupied areas um, to the Qing Empire. And from Qing Empire, it became in 1683, it became a part of the Fujian province. Just to say that it became a prefecture. It was not a province by itself. It was part of a Fujian province, larger Fujian province. But the movement in Taiwan as a province was established only in 1887, uh, which was and but again the Japan-China War that occurred, followed by the Treaty of Shimonoseki in 1895, that was signed between Japan and the Qing Empire. Taiwan was ceded into Japan formally in 1895, all the way to 1945. And post Japan surrender, when Japan said like, okay, now I am going to surrender my colonies after post World War II, the nuclear incident, the Taiwan land was surrendered to ROC government, the Republic of China government. And in 1949, when due to the PRC and ROC conflict in China itself, ROC moved its government from mainland China to Taiwan. And since then, ROC ruled over the island until 1991. Okay, so they did by default they started saying it as a Republic of China because they wanted to go back. ROC is a foreign party to Taiwan as well, but if we remove ROC, then there is a big. Then it's not so close to this. Yes, there were ethnically Han Chinese who migrated, but it was the ROC which came in 1949 formally. And since then, until 1991, they ruled under martial law. The democracy happened, and what we see right now is a very thriving, open society in Taiwan. Yeah.
So you mentioned that 13 countries still recognize ROC
Yes.
as the legitimate government.
Mhm.
Over the years, PRC has bought off countries that had recognized ROC, so the
Yes.
number is shrinking. But isn't there some movement lately by Latvian countries to redevelop relationships with ROC in preference to PRC?
Yeah, yes, you are absolutely correct. With the Belt and Road Initiative falling apart to a certain extent, Latvian countries, I can say, Lithuanian was one of the first countries which fall apart from this debate of ROC or PRC when for their own bilateral relationship kind of affected how Lithuania looks at Taiwan or how Taiwan looks at Lithuania. They have established their trade centers at each other countries right now, and also to the Prague city mayor. So Prague city mayor, incidentally, um, long time back, he was an exchange student during his study time to Taiwan. Prague city mayor started speaking a lot of pro-Taiwan statements, which kind of angered China, and it created some sort of discomfortness between the two, and they started establishing. And now Taiwan has more. So, like even in Italy right now, they opened up a new consulate. They don't call it consulate; they call it as a cultural center or so, which acts like a default embassy
De
for the
facto
people.
embassy.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Panigrahi, if you were an advisor to President Tsai, what would be your advice to President Tsai to enhance Taiwan's international footprint? As you and I know that Taiwan is struggling with the membership of WHO, which has been consistently vetoed by PRC.
Yes.
What international organizations Taiwan should apply for membership in order to increase its international legitimacy?
Okay. Uh, One thing for fact for sure that even if there is this comes through a lot of my own personal conversations with the citizens there. So this, especially the scholars, I would say, the most of the scholars say that even if all the countries de-recognize Taiwan, end of the day, they will still be having some sort of track 1.5 or 2 sort of relationship. And Taiwan will still exist even if the other countries don't recognize Taiwan as a country. If we do a brief comparison between Taiwan and Somaliland, Somaliland itself, it's a kind of territory which is not recognized by around the world, but it is still thriving, it's still there. it has its own policies and all. So yes, legitimacy is important, but not at the cost of self identity, I would say. And Taiwanese are very proud of their own self identity in these terms. And your question related to what will be my advice to President Chai, I think President Chai administration over the years have consistently have tried to reach out to different parties on this regard. She has started a new southbound policy right after she took over the power in 2016 September itself, which kind of focused on Southeast 18 countries in total, 10 in Southeast Asia, 10 8 countries in SAARC, and 2 in Australia and New Zealand, to increase Taiwan's vision in this sort of countries. And at the same time, Tsai Ing-wen have also started a bilingual 2030 policy where they try to enhance English as the second language. Most of the time, we see people are unable to communicate to each other, and English being a very much universal language, which President Chai administration is trying very hard to enhance this. But yes, challenges remains, and connection do matters between them. But there are a lot of track to diplomacy work that is going on between both the sides to increase
Dr.
the.
Panigrahi, as you and I know, both PRC and Taiwan have applied for membership of CPTPP.
Yes.
I know you have not mastered the art of reading tea leaves.
Mhm.
You think either country's application in CPTPP would be successful?
So again, what I would say, there is no doubt for the fact that Taiwan's importance due to semiconductors, and there is also no hidden agenda is that the Chinese are, and also they have realized that their policies against foreign companies are backfiring, and China needs market. I'm sure, to a certain extent, its market right now has saturated for their own companies, and they need more companies, and they will do their best to be a part of it. But it is about how the other countries they see China as a fact. Are they willing to take away this security angle to enhance their economy, or they are going to put the security in the back front and put economy first? And so it's again, we are not on the negotiating table because of our own reasons. When I say we, I say India in this. So a lot of things are there, but national interest and national identity matters, I would say.
So, in your interactions with Taiwanese scholars,
Mhm.
what is your sense? Is there actually a written document or proof of the so-called 1993 consensus, or it is just figment of imagination of
Yeah.
Chinese
Okay.
Communist Party?
Okay. So this is something this is called 1992 consensus. That said, it's a consensus based on an agreement of what is China. The question that again we say ROC, we say PRC. We always get confused to what is what. If someone who's not from a who don't study all this polit- complicated politics, right? So the PRC and ROC, so they came out through a joint statement in 1992 by the then representatives of the CCP and ROC party KMT. They used to came together and say signed this agreement saying that okay, we for the PRC vision, it says that there is only one China and Taiwan is one part of it. But ROC side, they recognize saying that okay, there is one China, but what is that? Who controls China? That one China. It's a thing of which can be debated at the end, not now. So that's where they came out with some sort of. It just depends on which angle you want to look at. So right now, the 1992 consensus is people are claiming, saying that okay, this is outdated, given the fact that 1992 consensus was signed based on one party at that particular time. But right now, being Taiwan having multiple parties and things changes, the 1992 consensus has been contested, including President Tsai Ing-wen, which challenges the status quo or that vision of 1992 consensus. So that's the complications are still there.
So, in other words, is consensus a real consensus or it's a one-sided thing? If there is rethinking and other parties do not in Taiwan, within Taiwan, and at this point in time, there are four very active democratic parties thriving there, and only one acknowledges that, then is it really a consensus?
No, it's that's what I said. Like, if we see the 1992 consensus when it was signed, and we match it with the public survey, sorry, the identity survey, like how many people consider themselves as Taiwanese or both Chinese or Taiwanese, you'll see with time the 1992 consensus is there. It's always there. But over the years, the identity of self identity of the people who live in Taiwan, the people who consider themselves as Chinese have reduced to 2.3. People who consider both Chinese and Taiwanese are somewhere around 36%. But those who consider themselves as only Chinese have actually risen from 24% to 63, sorry, 62.8% at present. So that shows a lot, saying that no, there is no more consensus on this part. That there is one China. They don't want to go back to China anymore. They want to have their own identity and to be left alone.
So, in the international circles, there's a lot of talk about PRC invading and occupying Taiwan. And
Mhm,
the speculations is that the strongman Xi Jinping will try to invade Taiwan
mhm,
in 2027.
mhm.
What is your opinion on these rumors or speculations, which are only speculations? We don't know.
Yeah. So this sort of like I understand that the timeline or deadlines that has been given by the U.S. Admiral on Taiwan attack, Chinese attack on Taiwan, was 25. Some say it's 27. So on this part, I did ask on a similar note to a scholar in Taiwan, and he said that it's not about the timing; it's about the intention. It's what they, it's not about, if they want, if they have the right intention, they can invade within a day. If they have the, if they are willing to sacrifice what they think they will lose if they are going to attack and the PSC is going to attack. So it's about the intention. And Taiwan is struggling, of course, due to low birth rate to be to increase its army and all. And invasion should not, I think, again, over the years, with the rise of, thanks to digitization in the world has gained a lot, but also to the necessary evil that we call it, to the digitization. China don't need to invade Taiwan, but electronic interference such as in news media, social media, print, radio shows, and so on. So a lot of fake news also spiraling around against Taiwan in Taiwan on those, and the mitigating through this digital invasion is been a challenge, and it will grow. It will keep on growing as a challenge over the years as well.
So, coming back to the paramount leader Xi Jinping, is he learning any lessons from Putin's fiasco in Ukraine vis-a-vis analogous situation in Taiwan, or the intention still remains reunification by any means?
Yes, I'm sure they have taken note of what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, and so do what's happening right now in Israel Hamas situation as well. In fact, last year around this time, my colleague, and some of our students, we came together with a co-edited book on Russia, Ukraine war, and Northeast Asian countries' response. as well. So where we looked into different aspects of Northeast Asian countries, how do they respond to these things. But with China, yes, they have seen it, they have learned from it, and but it's not only China who is learning from all this. It is also Taiwan which has learned a lot of things from this. So everybody is watching, like there is a clear division of an invader and one as a defender. So that's something that one need to look at, and they will face challenge. It's not going to be a walk in the park when it comes to attacking Taiwan physically through army or military harbors. But digital invasions is been occurring almost every single day, every single minute we speak. Digital invasion is there always. Yeah.
Taiwan is a thriving democracy and they have had presidential elections, and at this point in time, they are in the process of having a presidential election. President Tsai is term limited, having won 2 terms, so
Mhm.
she cannot be the candidate. The pattern has been that alternatively KMT versus DPP have occupied the high power, and with a 2 term incumbency for DPP, what is your guess? And it can be guess or speculation. Will KMT wrest back presidency from DPP? What is likely to happen? Because that may determine the future course of Taiwan Communist China relationship.
Okay. So we just go to last year domestic elections. It is where we saw KMT winning by a huge margin, almost every single other, like completely wiped out DPP from the local elections. But when it comes to the national elections, the ball is completely different. The current KMT candidate, he is a former law enforcement officer. He don't have much of national level politics or control or policies. And so do the other competitor is Dr. Kovanger, who is the former Taipei mayor. The KMT mayor candidate is new Taipei city mayor. Dr. Konja was the former Taipei mayor. So just yesterday, the KMT chairman Eric Chu and Konja, the Taiwan's People's Party, they came together and they were discussing some sort of coalition against DPP this time. So this is also good because this is the first time I would see like such a open collaboration between two different political parties is occurring at national level. That kind of will definitely it will be a challenge for the DPP's presidential candidate William Lai, but at the same time it also brings out another piece sort of opportunity for other parties to come up. May not be KMT or maybe KMT because the what sort of agreement that these two political individuals or the head political party head have came out. It's not out in public yet, so we just need to wait and watch what's going to happen.
The former president of Taiwan, Ma Ying-jeou, in a visit to People's Republic of China last year, pitched for unification.
Mhm.
Would such an act not adversely affect Taiwan's case for independence?
Ma Ying-jeou went to China, citing not as a um, not as a to reunify, I would say. So the main purpose by his office that came out was is to see his grandparents and parents tombs in China, where he came from. If I'm not wrong, it was in Hong Kong. So that was the major goal. But yes, this sort of visits by KMT, which is considered as more on a leaning towards China political party, that's where that could be challenged. But Ma Ying-jeou went, but he went for other purposes. And no, I don't think he went to talk politics in China.
Ostensible reason was whatever you have stated, but he did give a politically charged statement
Yes, he
that
did.
caused certain reverberations in the
Yes.
domestic Taiwanese circles. And some
Yes, it
people went on to extend to say that this was treason or sedition. Some
yes.
people did say that, so I just wanted to bring that particular issue, how
Mhm.
sensitive that was it was, although ostensibly it was for personal reasons.
Yeah.
So again, if you were to advise President Tsai, would you advise the Taiwan administration to initiate delinking and de-risking processes economically with the economy of People's Republic of China?
That's again, this is very, I would say, futuristic and very hopeful. Being, let's say, not if nothing goes wrong and all, because the amount of investments that the Chinese, so the Taiwanese investors have done in China, is it's a huge number. It's a huge number. There are about 500,000 Taiwanese are staying in China working. Another couple of thousands are students are in mainland China to work. There's so much interlinkages between these two places, even though they don't have, obviously for obvious reason, it is not a easy thing to do. But there is a change due to the new southbound policy where the China government did try to pull out some of the factories from mainland China to Vietnam, India as another case, and so on, and also encouraging industries to come back to Taiwan. But they do face, like for example, last week, the Foxconn company, which is the largest assembly of iPhone maker in the world and chip maker, also they kind of they're right now facing a calendar event from the judges of Japan, to China, and they kind of the PRC came out with a statement saying that the Foxconn has did some tax fraud or tax evasion, so there's under review. It's a similar way what Jack Ma, China's own citizen Jack Ma, Alibaba going through. So this business community of Taiwan is quite crucial for China, and this is where there's this concept called Taishang in Chinese. Taishang means business community from Taiwan in China. So they are a lot who have invested a lot over the years and have reaped benefit from this. But again, all these benefits or the growth that the individuals show is very I forgot the word, but it's a very limited in terms of this.
I mean, that capital investment is highly risky because with stroke of a pen, Communist Party
Yes.
of China can take all the assets in national interest anytime,
Yes, you're
whereas
correct.
other democratic countries like India or for that matter, even in Vietnam, they will not face this risk of losing entire investment.
Yes, and just to add on, last year, 2 years back, the China Business Council president, Friendship Association president, if I'm not wrong, who's a businessman and all, he was jailed. He was released after being jailed for more than 6 years. So the kind of statements he said that, oh, because he was arrested because he talked to so and so, the it is it considered as a sedition in China's law. So that sort of leverage that the Chinese want to have can easily have with Taiwan, because the amount of connection that they have, the Guanxi, the Chinese term called Guanxi, between mainland China and Taiwan, is just very hard to calculate. Very hard to calculate, to understand.
Now, reciprocally, while we are seeking investment from Taiwan into India, shouldn't the
Mhm.
Indian chambers of commerce like FICCI or ASSOCHAM should consider investing in Taiwanese infrastructure and tourism industry?
Last week, the CII, the Conference of India, the about 15 of members from them, they have visited Taiwan to discuss some sort of collaboration in terms of textile industries, where the Taiwanese companies can invest in China, in Chennai. not China, in Chennai. So they are trying to move out of China from so and so. Like the processes have started, but it's a very, very slow process. There are a lot of challenges to it when it comes to our bilateral investments and all. For Indian companies to invest in Taiwan is one of the biggest challenge is the language issue. Because they all use Mandarin language, which is quite difficult for a lot of our Indians people. But when it comes from Taiwan to India, it becomes very easy because we have English is one widely common language. They don't have to do it all. And at the same time, another challenge that we face is bureaucracy. They do face bureaucracy here. Like in 2017-18, there was a riot in a Taiwanese controlled mobile manufacturing plant. Um, it was by a company by Wistron. Just 2 weeks back, Wistron sold their entire mobile chip assembly line to Tata, so which will start producing in 2026. So this sort of phases are there. So one needs to be careful of it.
If again Picky or CII come to you for advice,
Mhm.
would you consider advising them to invest in infrastructure or tourism industry in specific areas of Taiwan? Especially, I have in mind islands of Kinmen,
Mhm.
Penghu, and Matsu.
Okay. Um, I um, I have visited all those islands and I stayed there for more than a week on each those islands. And with infrastructure, I don't think Taiwan needs infrastructure assistance in terms of because they are self-sufficient when it comes to infrastructure in their own country. But in terms of tourism, yes, if the Indian industry can reach out to some, let's say, tour companies, they can have a lot of Indian tourists there. But again, there are a lot of society, there are a lot of back-end challenges that comes up, like in terms of food, language, in terms of flight, because we don't have pre-COVID, we did had a direct flight between Delhi and Taipei, but post-COVID, it has not restarted yet. So those are small technical. We may call it small, but it needs to be it needs to be expanded. It needs to be definitely needs to be expanded to other areas.
So you have written on India's strategic options vis-a-vis China-Taiwan conundrum. Should India develop some sort of military relationship with Taiwan and offer maybe BrahMos missiles or Tejas fighter aircrafts to Taiwan, since they are trying to strengthen their military?
I don't think that's going to be possible. For again, because first thing first, we don't have diplomatic relations with Taiwan, and this is something the military cells when it comes, it occurs when the governments are involved in most of the cases, and I don't think our government will be willing to. Have more troubles when it comes in terms of China. Because the moment we say that we are going to sell so and so, the Chinese will create some other adventure on the borders or somewhere where it will harm us more than what it could have benefited.
Uh, is BrahMos as a government-owned company or it's a privately?
It is a private owned company, but when it comes to Taiwan, I think we need to because it involves national security as such. Uh, that is something that I don't think our government will be willing to give that go ahead at least. With the Taiwan, almost every other Taiwanese military equipment is US based, US military hardware. So I'm not sure how that will be integrated with them.
I think in sort of geopolitics, anything is possible. especially as far as I am aware of arms sales. You don't need to have diplomatic relations with any country. The major arm exporters find a way through third parties to sell the weapons. And as India is trying to build up its domestic arms industry under Atmanirbhar Bharat, there has been a focus on export. The export of defense equipment has, risen many hundred folds over the last 9, 10 years. So this would be a good opportunity, however one tries to achieve it. I think it's
Yes, it is a wonderful opportunity, but we have to see the larger game that yes, we can export to them, but what will happen if we will export to them? That option, the government and the policymaker who are sitting on those tables, on that decision making tables, they need to make those decisions. Are we as a country ready to accept those repercussions that might occur if we sell arms to Taiwan? One thing that we can, in terms of military, it can in terms of education, one thing that where Taiwan can and has been fulfilling the gap is the Mandarin language training. So Taiwan have its own Taiwan Education Center, which across different universities in India, where they train or they teach Mandarin or they teach about Taiwan to the students in India, and it helps them to collaborate and further people to people exchanges. But also, I'm sure some to at some point of level there is some military to military level exchanges as well that is occurring through some other channels, which is not out in public.
could that also involve that kind of exchange, offering some educational slots for military training in NDA
Yes.
and IMA to Taiwanese cadets and officers?
No, I don't think that's. I don't think that's. Into my knowledge, I don't know. To my knowledge, I don't know that we have any Taiwanese military serving military official coming and being part in IMA or other our other military institutions. Uh, so I'm not aware of that.
When countries play geopolitical games, all options are on the table. Should India consider giving observer status to Taiwan, let's say in Malabar exercises or other bilateral or trilateral exercises?
See, again, by when it comes to in a multilateral, so other countries like we when we say Malabar, we by default it's the Quad countries when it comes to together. It's again, it won't be India's own decision, but yes, if it is stays as observer, it will benefit. It will benefit us in many ways because it will provide a platform, a sort of interaction between the multiple country navies to each other. It will provide that sort of platform, which is beneficial, which will be beneficial actually, and can be done. But again, it's India itself has said that Malabar is exercises are not targeted against any single country. But if we include Taiwan into this, the message will go quite strong to China that no, you are supporting independence. Um, yes, independent forces. So again, as a nation, we have to be ready to face the consequences, whatever that consequences can be. It can be economic, it can be military, it can be digital, it can be anything. We don't know yet. So
If again you were advising the Taiwanese establishment, Taiwan is actually paralyzed with a neurotic conflict. It's an approach avoidance conflict, whether to be Taiwanese or whether to be Chinese, whether you are ROC or whether you are, an independent nation called Republic of Taiwan. So that conflict is there. There are pros and cons for it.
mhm.
Part of this neurotic conflict for national identity is hanging on to the past. And that creates regional problems. For example, Taiwan has a claim on Senakaku Islands. Taiwan has a claim on Scarborough Shoals Taiwan has a claim on Paracels Islands vis-a-vis.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
To chart its own independent course, Taiwan will have to cure itself of this national neurotic conflict
Mm-hmm.
and go into some kind of grand Indo-Pacific bargain in which Taiwan is recognized as an independent nation, let's say by Japan, and Taiwan actually gives its claim on Senkaku Islands. Similarly, enters into similar kind of relationship with Vietnam and you know Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
and for that matter with South Korea, because South Korea and Taiwan also have some island disputes. So in the future scheme of things, wouldn't it be advisable for the Taiwanese political establishment to go for a grand bargain by mutually recognizing each other and not continue to have the expansionist imperialistic claims of mainland China?
Yes, I think you touched the one wonderful point, and like the South China Sea, the original South China Sea, the 9 dash line, which was actually started by ROC, which was about 11 dash line. Then, post the creation of the PRC, it became 9 dash line. The latest map, the PRC launched on this month, beginning in October 2023. The 9 dash line became 10 dash line. So, in a way, what PRC has inherited from the ROC policies is as mostly those territorial claims against other countries. As a nation, ROC, yes, there in some of their, if you read the constitution, there is some mention of all this, but and to a certain extent, ROC also claims Arunachal Pradesh as southern Tibet. That's something is again, that's another thing why India is not that active when it comes to territorial claims by Taiwan. But when it comes to uh, the inheritance, the Taiwanese, there are a lot of internal discussions for to shed away the past nomenclatures or claims. For example, the I mentioned about the direct flight between Taipei and Delhi. So the direct flight name, the company is China Airlines. So it creates a confusion. Are you going to Taiwan or are you going to China? So there are some so those basic terminologies. Let's say ROC, Republic of China. I am Chinese. They say, but are they claiming Chinese in terms of ethnically or culturally? So that one needs to Taiwanese needs to find a solution when it comes to such territorial claims, whether it's Paracel Islands or Southern Tibet, as they claim, or anywhere in the world. But they are in the one of the first who are in the first island chain of US in a large context to stop China, where it to further its expansion goals.
So, in the same vein, in your interactions with Taiwanese academics and scholars, wouldn't it be advisable to, counsel them that if Taiwan has to have an independent future, Taiwan will have to give up notion of the mainland being the Western Taiwan?
Yes, they have given up at some point of time in 80s and 90s. They have given up the idea that they are never going to go back there. But the as you must be aware that how and why the nation names can be changed or the land territories can be changed, it's super complicated. So they're waiting for some approvals. But yes, um, here we are.
Okay. So, couple of more things.
Mhm.
In the same vein, Taiwan still has a claim on Tibet. Taiwan
Yep.
does not recognize the nation of Tibet as an independent entity and continues to harp on the same arrangement that Communist China or People's Republic of China is saying that Tibet is an inalienable part of PRC.
Yes. Yeah.
So this kind of rhetoric from Taiwan does not help its case.
Yes. They have stopped claiming actually long time back. If you look at the Ministry of Land, Interior, Land Office, their map, the official in the monograph, I mentioned that in their official map they have claimed only those islands which are under their control right now. But they have not claimed in that map. Then there is no picture of China or any other part of the region. So they are just focused on themselves.
Uh, in other words, what they need to do is come with a unique declaration that Arunachal Pradesh is not part of our territory, it's part of India.
Yeah, it will make,
Uh, it's a
definitely
kind of
make
confidence building measure.
things very clear.
It's a confidence building measure.
Yes, yes, it will make things very clear for sure.
Talking about India's policy options vis-a-vis China, Taiwan conundrum, what would be your advice to India's political establishment? What should they be doing?
I would say we need to understand. We have a lot of scholars in India who understand China in and out, but at the same time, we have to also understand Taiwan. The reason being, when the cultural revolutions happened, a lot of things were destroyed in China. But when Chiang Kai-shek moved mm, into Taiwan, when Chiang Kai-shek moved into Taiwan along with his followers in 1948-49, he brought tons and tons of uh, artifacts, and he was very proud mainlander, we call it. So he forced everybody under his during his rule to speak only the mainland Chinese, but not at the um, cost, and there was no cultural revolution in Taiwan. So it helped, and it always it and I always recommend anybody, if you want to learn Chinese, go to the real original Chinese. You must go to Taiwan because of they still use traditional keyboard or traditional characters as compared to PRC, which uses is very simplified version of um, language literature.
So you just mentioned that changing name is a very complex process. We have seen that it was changed very easily when Ceylon became Sri Lanka, when Rhodesia became Zimbabwe,
Yes.
and closer to home, India became Bharat.
Yes.
It is the mindset that matters.
Mhm.
And I guess the message to Taiwanese academics and scholars and politicians is that, you know, too much of analysis paralysis actually leaves you in a very agonized state.
Yes.
If you envisage an independent stature, independent nationhood, you'll have to claim that. And you cannot be living in the past of ROC. You have to say we are ROT, Republic of Taiwan or Democratic Republic of Taiwan. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, so actually, in the past couple of elections in Taiwan itself, there is especially in the last election, I remember I was in Taiwan, there was a lot of debate that we should change our name to Taiwan and all. But but we have to understand that uh, it's a very complex situation because the moment Taiwan does anything which changes the status quo, it will see a probably very likely will see a military action in the region. And like me, many people don't want any war in Taiwan, because it is going to affect Taiwan as a country, as a nation, to really a lot. So they try to play with the fire and keep it aside by not declaring. So being a status quo is the best option. And if you see the surveys, also a lot of books and public surveys that are conducted, most of them want the status quo to prevail because it's not affecting their daily life. They still, whenever they go out, they use Taiwan's passport. Within the country, there's Taiwanese money, Taiwanese social media, and so on and so. it's kind of, yeah, so it's kind of challenging to change anything.
Well, it has been a fascinating conversation with you, Dr. Panigrahi, and I thank you for giving us time on our platform. I hope we'll continue to have your patronage of our platform on different uh, issues, but it was a pleasure to host you on this platform. Thank you very much indeed for taking some time off from your academic work and talk to us on the topic of nationhood of Taiwan. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me, and it was indeed very open and frank discussion, and I also enjoyed it. And there are a lot of questions, ifs and buts were there, and also with the responses with ifs and buts. But this is only time I can only tell, and I hope, and me personally, I hope that there should not be any war, because we already see two major conflict going on the west of India. We don't want any other east, because it's not only that war that is going to there, but it will also affect us quite significantly, where most of our trade goes through Malacca Strait to East Asia and towards China and to Taiwan as well.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Ji.